Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe again on this Wealth Wednesday. Hope you're doing well wherever you are. And we had a great event at the weekend, so thought I'd let you know. As well turned out, we had a full house and great information, great great networking, and it was great to just see everybody again and hear Femi's story. We had Nick, the real estate agent, was there, so he's giving his perspective as a realtor, and obviously I was sharing my perspective as the investor. But a great event, and hopefully, if all goes well, we'll be doing another event, probably about another 6 weeks. Another student of mine, Corliss and Fritz, they bought their house here in Washington, D.C., and done the demo, and we are now going through the permitting process to get the building permit. Hopefully, we'll get that soon. And once that's done, then we'll start the renovations, and then maybe we'll do an event at their house, kind of midway through the rehab phase. So look out for that. And again, we had a great event. So thank you for everyone for coming on Saturday, and I look forward to seeing you the next one. So today we're going to talk about identifying neighborhoods with strong rental demand. And as you can see, that's a very, very important topic. If you're looking to buy properties, obviously, if you're going to do a long-term hold, and you want to make sure that you buy in areas where you can get tenants, not just any tenants, but hopefully the tenants that you're looking to rent to. You know what my desired tenants are? My desired tenants are tenants who are what I call tier one. They're going to pay the rent, they're going to take care of the property, pleasant to deal with, and hopefully stay a long time. So that's what I'm looking for. And these particular tenants, I need to know who they are, where they want to live, where they don't want to live, and therefore, hopefully, if they stay a long time, then I can get my ROI, return on investment, on my property. So that's the reason why we are, talking about this topic today, is because a lot of people ask me, Dr. Joe, hey, where should I buy? Should I buy here in Baltimore? Should I buy in DC? Should I buy in Florida? Should I buy in wherever? My answer to that, it depends. And it's obviously the local market is important. And so today we're going to kind of talk about some of the issues that you need to consider when you're identifying areas where to invest in. And the last thing you want to do is to buy a house or property in a certain area and you can't rent it because nobody wants to live there, or you can't get the rent that you want because demand is weak, and so forth and so on. So that's the reason why we're having this topic today. And as usual, please put your questions in the chat box, and we'll get to them in about 20 minutes from now. Anything to do with real estate investing, anything to do with landlording, tenants, acquiring, financing, any issues or problems that you're facing, and where you want my perspective, feel free to put them in the chat box, and I'll get to them shortly. So the question is, why is identifying high rental neighborhoods crucial for investors? It's really fundamental in making a well-informed decisions, because your goal, I think, is to have a profitable business, and where you buy is absolutely critical in that decision-making process. You want to identify properties. Hopefully, you'll get a high yield. And not all rental areas are the same. Not all neighborhoods are the same. You want to look at things such as, strong, consistent demand for your rentals. Is that area where you're thinking about, is it good for that? Are you going to get a steady stream of income once you have it available for rent? And obviously, you want to minimize vacancies. So these are some of the reasons why it's so important to identify areas. So we're going to go into a little deep dive into this subject matter during today's live stream. We're going to have a pretty comprehensive, multifaceted approach to this, and we're going to look at things like demographics, the importance of demographics, the importance of economic trends, and also the allure, I suppose, of local amenities. What's the big deal about where you are, where this property is, and why should people want to live there? So all these things come into play when you're deciding, should I invest in neighborhood A or city A or region A or state A versus B. These are all the factors and considerations that you want to do. So today we're going to kind of go into a little deep dive because I think it's a very, very important topic. So let's just get down to it. And number one is the importance of market research. Obviously, you want to understand the market that you're thinking of entering, and you don't want any surprises after you bought the property. So market research is absolutely indispensable. It provides you with a bird's eye view of the locality that you're thinking of considering, the landscape, the economic and demographic trends that's taking place. And also, it's market research is going to give you an idea of the indicators of the neighborhoods that you're thinking of investing in. Is there high potential for growth? Is there high potential for strong rental demand? Because these are some of the things that you want to do in order to make what we call an informed decision. So by understanding some of the intricacies, you can sort of navigate the complexities of the real estate market and therefore identify neighborhoods that that obviously meet your short-term, but hopefully some of your long-term goals, and they align with your investment objectives. So market research is absolutely important. And some of the action items that you may want to consider as part of the market research are things like conduct a demographic analysis of the area that you're thinking of investing. Use government or sort of census data to find things like population trends. Are people moving in, moving out? Household income levels. What are the typical incomes in the area that you're thinking of investing? Because obviously the incomes is going to be determinant of how much people can pay for rent, and other demographic factors you may want to consider as well. The other thing you may want to consider as part of the action item is a look at the economic conditions in the area that you're thinking of investing. What are the employment rates? Are there major employers in the area? And are there any economic developments taking place? Because that will give you an idea of whether the area is increasing or decreasing. And also you want to look at infrastructure developments that may be taking place. Are there any planned or ongoing commercial activities, infrastructure activities, projects, transportation links, commercial developments? These are some of the things that will impact your desirability as a rental, because obviously as the economy is growing, then people are going to go there towards jobs. And if people are going to go for jobs, they're going to need rental properties and so on. So that's the action number one. Market research is number one. The second topic I think is important is really to understand the demographics. I'm going to go into a little bit more details as to what I mean by demographics here. It's kind of the evolving landscape in the area. Things like, is there a trend in, things like the age distribution? If you're catering to young people or older people, what's the distribution of ages, household composition, families, singles, income levels? These are all demographics, and because that will have an impact on the types of properties that people are looking for, the locations where people want to live, and also the amenities that people or renters are looking for. These are some of the things when I talk about demographics. And so, for example, if you're catering to, if there's a surge, let's say, in young people, young professionals within a city like Washington, D.C., New York, Miami, LA, or whatever, any city, there's going to be, what it tells us is that there's probably going to be an increase in demand for studios or one-bedroom units, especially near employment hubs where the jobs are, and possibly where there are lifestyle amenities like things for recreation. Conversely, if the demographics is increasing in terms of families, then there may be a growing demand for larger homes, and with access to good schools and parks and other recreational facilities. So adapting the demographics, requires you to stay abreast of what's going on. And so that, again, what the trends are in your locality, and that'll give you an idea of whether there's demand, increasing demand, reducing demand, and things like that for rental properties. So I think that's the, what's it called in terms of the let's have a look here. Let's get my notes together. In terms of you know, demographics, is conduct a demographic analysis, evaluate economic conditions, and you know, and so on. So that's action items for there. Number 3 is, I think it's this is an interesting one. It's sort of the economic trends and their impact. You know, economics is critical. The strength of your local economy is going to have a huge impact on whether there's a growing, if there's an increase in population or a decrease in population. As you know, I like the Washington, D.C. area, and because typically capital cities around the world tend to be the most resilient, and because that's where the money is, that's where the government is, that's where they spend the money, and people want a piece of that action, so they tend to gravitate towards the capital area. So that's one of the reasons why I like you know, the Washington, D.C. area. Obviously, I live here, but the economies tend to be a lot more resilient, tend to be a lot stronger, and therefore real estate is very closely tied to the local economy. So it's really important for you to understand the economic impacts, or you know, what's taking economic trends, I suppose, in the area where you are considering you know, investing in. So certain things like employment growth. Is there a trend? Are there jobs, you know, over there? Because if there's an increase in jobs, then obviously it's going to increase in number of people that want to live there. Are industries expanding or declining? And what's the overall economic health of the jurisdiction that you're thinking of investing in? So, for example, if there's job growth, as I said before, then people are going to come there for jobs. And if they come to the area, they're going to need somewhere to stay, which means that there's probably going to be an increase in demand for rental opportunities. There'll be an uptick in rental demand as people search for employment opportunities. Similarly, neighborhoods, you know, that benefit from economic revitalization also tend to witness increased demand or for potential renters. And therefore, that's going to boost demand for rentals and also rental rates or rental prices. And also, you may want to, you know, you need to monitor economic trends closely and use them as a guide for strategic, you know, investment decisions. So by investing in areas where there's a strong demand, then what it means is that there's going to be a steady demand for rental properties, which means that for you as an investor, there's probably going to be potential for reducing vacancies, and which in turn means that you're going to have a better return on your investment. So local economy is very, very important. The strength of your local economy is absolutely critical for your viability as an investor of rental properties. So it's really important to understand what's taking place, anticipate market shifts, and adjust your plans accordingly. So what are some of the action items associated with economic trends? I would say things like monitor the local and national economic indicators. What's taking place? Is the economy growing, stagnant, reducing? And also, you may want to conduct, you know, area-specific economic analysis of the neighborhood, of the city, of the region that you're thinking of investing. And look at things like, you know, local economy strength, like unemployment rates, medium income levels, future economic development plans. And because by integrating all these economic trends, it really helps you identify which areas are better to invest in, and which areas are likely to give you a stronger demand for your rental units. And as a result of that, you probably have higher occupancy levels. Okay, so that's number 3. And we'll go to number 4 in a second. But again, if you've got some questions, please put them in the chat box. I'm going to get to them in about 10 minutes from now. And, you know, let's get the questions in, and I'll do as much as I can for the Ask Dr. Joe Q&A session. So the 4th thing I want to cover is in terms of the importance in helping you identify where to invest for your rental properties, is really the role of local amenities. You know, I mean, things like, really what's going on locally. Why should people live there? What's the neighborhood appeal? And because the attractiveness of the area is going to be important to determine whether people want to live there. Amenities which are very popular with renters are things like parks, schools, shopping center, recreational facilities, public transportation, entertainment venues. These are all things that people look for when they're considering whether to live in a particular area or not. What's the quality of life for residents, who want to live there or don't want to live there? So as a result of that, investors, you and I, need to sort of assess the availability and the quality of local amenities when we decide we want to invest in a place or not. So things like highly desirable amenities that people look for are things like, as I said, schools, recreation, transportation, and they will have an impact on whether people want to live there, the desirability, and also the demand for your units if and when you have them. So keep tabs of that. What's going on locally? Are there any sort of new amenities or improvements that's taking place or going to be offered? Because they could signal neighborhood growth, and therefore offering you as the investor, opportunities to enter the market before the prices escalate. So you can be a little bit ahead of the curve. For example, I know that some parts, like let's say, taking Washington D.C., there was a time they were expanding the metro system and the subway systems, and typically once you have rapid transport, it tends to bring people in because people want to, be able to get in and out of a particular area. And therefore, if you can go in and buy before these projects are completed, sometimes you can be ahead of the curve, and therefore, be there, and get in at a reasonable price compared to others who may come in later once everything is completed. So what are some of the action items associated with local amenities? Research and evaluate local amenities before investing in particular area. Do a thorough analysis of the local amenities that's offered. Consider both the current landscape and also the planned developments that could take place in determining the neighborhood's appeal. Market properties based on nearby amenities. So when you are advertising your properties, you want to highlight your proximity to some of these desirable amenities that hopefully will be of interest to prospective tenants. I know when I advertise my property, that I always mention close to things like, I do a lot of Section 8, so close to public transportation is very, very important, whether it be buses or whether it be the subway system, proximity to shopping, proximity to parks and recreational facilities is very important. So I tend to highlight those in my adverts, along with the usual things like photographs, video, virtual tours, and things like that when I'm marketing my properties. So again, if you are close to desirable neighborhood, activities or amenities, you want to definitely include that in your listings. So really, by strategically investing in areas with attractive local amenities, you can increase the appeal of your property and hopefully give you that competitive edge compared to other investors. So again, this is really helpful in terms of attracting, but also retaining, tenants once they're in your property, which in turn will mean that you get a higher return on your investment. Number 5 is optimizing. What's the time? It's 7:20. Optimizing rental pricing. Obviously, pricing at the end of the day is very, very important in terms of determining the desirability of your property. So you want to obviously optimize, the price of your properties is critical. You don't want to overprice it, and therefore you lose potential tenants. But likewise, you don't want to underprice it and therefore leaving money on the table. So you want to make sure that your property is priced aggressively and such that it can attract the kind of tenants that you're looking for. So there's always a delicate balance between, being priced not too high, but again, not too low. And therefore you can attract tenants quickly, and hopefully you can reduce your vacancies and, get your profits accordingly. So factors to consider in determining the optimal prices for your property are things like, what's the market demand? the property location and proximity to amenities, the ones I just talked about. Also, you want to do some comparative rental analysis to find out what others are charging for similar units close by. So understanding local rates is absolutely important. It's good to know what others are charging. It's good to know what the market is bearing demand-wise. And obviously, certain things like the property size, the condition, and some of the unique features will have an impact on the price that you want to rent this thing for. Some areas there's seasonal fluctuations. Some areas, it could be in a resort area. So obviously during the summer, it tends to be high season, so you can usually charge a little bit more. During the cold or off market, you can usually not price it so much. So you're sort of may have to do some seasonal adjustments based on certain areas that you're in. And so in Washington D.C., we don't really have those seasonal adjustments so much, but as compared to resort or recreational places and so on. So what are some of the action items you may want to consider in terms of optimizing your rental prices? You want to do comprehensive market research. You want to gather data about what other people are charging, comparables for similar units of similar size, style, and amenities. You also want to check some of these online platforms, Zillow, Redfin, Craigslist. These are all online platforms, even contacting property managers and real estate agents who can give you some accurate data as to what others are charging for similar units. Also, you want to evaluate your property's unique value. What some of the unique things that you have in your property, that could be attractive to prospective tenants. And also you want to adjust your price based on feedback and occupancy levels. If you want to increase your occupancy level, you may have to reduce the price, likewise, and so on. Okay, so really by strategically optimizing rental pricing, investors can enhance their property's appeal and hopefully be in a position to attract potential tenants, and which in turn will enable faster occupancy, and which in turn will reduce your turnover costs. And then finally, number 6 is navigating setbacks and challenges. We all have setbacks and challenges in all our work. I've had it. Things don't always play out the way you want it to be. Sometimes you get hit by a curveball. But being a landlord, being a portfolio lender, being a portfolio landlord, long-term landlord, it has setbacks. There's unexpected maintenance issues and challenges. There's the regulatory, it could be landlord-tenant laws in the locality. There's economic downturns, and you have difficult tenants. These are all obstacles that will impact your profitability, and it's going to test your resolve as well. However, by anticipating some of these issues in advance, you can put in place proactive strategies that will help you, the investor, navigate through these difficult and challenges, hopefully a lot more effectively, and therefore ensuring your your resilience and long-term success. So a crucial part of navigating challenges, is a comprehensive understanding of the local regulations, local laws, especially as it pertains to housing condition, housing code, landlord-tenant evictions, and so on. It's really important to understand what they are locally, because that will dictate to you what you can and cannot do. Other things you may want to consider in terms of, mitigating setbacks and challenges is really having a team, a pool of reliable contractors and service providers who can address things like maintenance issues, both promptly and efficiently, and so minimizing downturn and hopefully minimizing disturbance and aggravation and dissatisfaction from your tenants. So the other thing is to minimize setbacks and challenges is have effective tenant screening processes in place. Me, I'm a real stickler for screening, as my experience that most of the problems that you're going to have as a landlord is because you just got the wrong person in your house. And the root of that is that something didn't work out on your screening. So it's really important to have a screening process, screening policies, and communicate effectively with your tenants, so you can mitigate risks associated with property damage and non-payment or payment delinquency. So what are some of the action items in terms of navigating setbacks and challenges? Stay informed and compliant with local regulations. Understand your local housing laws wherever you are and the do's and don'ts. Consider joining a local real estate investor group so you can learn from others. So you can stay update and learn from the experiences and setbacks from other people. Develop a network of reliable contractors. Cultivate relationships with skilled professionals who can quickly address any maintenance issues that come up. And also implement thorough screening and maintain open communication with your tenants. Establish clear criteria for tenant selection. Foster positive relationships with your tenants through regular communications and being responsive to their concerns. So by preparing for and effectively managing the challenges that come up, hopefully you can not let those challenges and setbacks throw you off, and hopefully you can keep rolling with the punches, as they say, and so you can protect your assets and ensure a steady, regular, consistent income stream. And then finally, in conclusion, the journey through identifying, the best areas to invest in is not easy. There's lots of things to consider, things like demographics, economic trends, local amenities, rental prices. These are all things that affect the desirability of your investment and whether you should invest in area A or area B. But they're essential components. Your mindset is important, your philosophy. Where do you want to invest? Why do you want to invest there? What kind of people are you looking for? Why do they want to live? Why should they rent from you? These are important things to consider on your journey to become a successful real estate investor. Success in this field is not just about, short-term gains. It's about the long haul. It's about being able to ride out storms. It's being able to sort of pick yourself up once you get knocked down or hit by a curveball every now and then. So it's really important to stay, to be resilient and be able to withstand some of these market fluctuations that's going to take place, and also some of the day-to-day operational challenges which are inevitable as a real estate investor. So investors need to understand market analysis, evolving trends, needs, preferences of tenants, and also how to navigate setbacks and strategic disappointments. So again, it's really good. I enjoy being a landlord. I think it's a real estate investing, owning real assets is absolutely critical, and you can do it. It's not easy, but it can be done. And hopefully some of the information I shared with you today will help you on your journey to identify properties, desirable properties in desirable locations, and so on. So that, my friend, is about 7:30. If you got some questions, please put them in the chat box. I'm going to go to Q&A shortly. So put them in the chat box, and we're going to go to Ask Dr. Joe. As always, if you've got any emails, if you want any questions, you can always shoot me an email. I'll try my best to get and respond to your email. And for those people who has immediate detail issues, problems, challenges that they're facing, if you want to book an hour with me, that's fine. You can book a one-on-one Zoom meeting with me. All you have to do is go to my website, joeasamoah.com, www.joeasamoah.com, and book a session. It's the Ask Dr. Joe button on the website. It is paid. It's $175 for 1 hour. So again, just full disclosure. But it's really, really worthwhile. I just had one yesterday, in fact, and it's good to be able for people to bounce ideas from me. I can share some of my experiences and wisdom based on 35 years of experience about what works, what doesn't work. So if you have any questions that you think you could do with my one-on-one attention, please go to the website joeasamoah.com and go press the Ask Dr. Joe button. And with that said, my friend, let's go to Q&A. So again, we had a great time on Saturday at the Burr Networking and Education event. Looking forward to another one, probably about another 6 or 7, 8 weeks. Another property, another student. And again, my goal is to encourage you, motivate you to take action. At the end of the day, you have to take action if you want to reach your financial independence goals. You can't reach your goals by watching videos all day. You can't reach your goals by, going to a RIA meeting. It takes action at some point. And if I can be of assistance to you, please let me know and I'll do the best that I can. So with that said and done, let's get down to Q&A and let's see what we got today. Hello, Dr. Joe from Texas. Hi, Get Lobster. Hope you're doing well. Let's have a look. Greetings from Phoenix. Still too. Hope you're doing good. Texas is in the house. Hi, Dr. Joe, joining from DC. Intellectual Conversation with BJ. How you doing? Intellectual Conversation with BJ. Again, if you got some questions, put them in the chat box and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Let's have a look. Outside of outdoor maintenance, what indoor inspections or routine maintenance do you for your units, e.g. filter change, refrigerator, core checks, etc.? How do you structure these visits? Okay, there typically what you may want to consider are maintenance checks every change of season. So there are 4 seasons, and the big ones obviously is winter and summer. That's the biggest change. So you can do in preparation for those changes. You may want to check out your HVAC system, your heating system, your cooling system, make sure they're working before it gets too hot or too cold. If your tenants are responsible for, maintaining the yard or maintaining the lawn, you want to give them a heads up, that it's their responsibility before the spring season. In terms of filter changes, I buy several spare filters, and I show the tenants how to change the filter, and then I leave them with several filters so they can change the filters on a regular basis. In terms of the appliances, I have home warranties on all my appliances, so if something goes wrong, I usually get the home warranty company to take care of it. So those are the kind of things. I send emails out to the tenant, and in advance, if there's a major rain session, I usually send a text message out to the tenants to check the drains and make sure the house is ready for a heavy rainstorm. So I do inspections usually once a year. For my new tenants, I do a little bit more regularly, maybe once a quarter for the first year. And but these are all part of my policies that I have in place. And obviously, if something goes wrong, if my maintenance person goes out there, then they usually are able to give me an update on how the house is and take care of the problem, whatever that may be. Okay, we're taking over a new duplex with 2 tenants next week. Congratulations. We'll deliver a new owner letter to them in person. Okay, congratulations. Please share tips for when we meet them so we can have a good start to the relationship. Okay, so the situation here at Get Lobster is that he's buying a new property, a duplex, in a couple of weeks' time, next week. He's got 2 new tenants that he's going to be inheriting. So he's going to deliver a new owner letter, just introducing himself and let them know who he is and so on. That's important. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have the security deposit is transferred over to you from the previous owner. You want to make sure you have a copy of the lease from the previous owner, and you want to obviously have an idea of their books, if they owe you any money or owe them any money, and because you're going to be inheriting these tenants. Other things to improve the relationship. I'm into communications, and so I think it's always a good idea to check in with your tenants every now and then. I think it's a good idea in terms of relationship building to do little things to go an extra yard to let them know that you appreciate them. You're very happy that they're staying in your property. Things like, you know me, I do Mother's Day gifts, bouquets of flowers, Christmas presents, and all this kind of different things. These are exercises in, customer service. And so, I mean, there's a lot to this in terms of relationship, because what I found is that if the tenants are happy, they're more likely to pay the rent, more likely to take care of the property, more likely to stay a long time. And, they're just pleasant people generally if they're happy. So I focus on those things that hopefully will make them happy and hopefully will get them to stay longer. Okay, good. Let's have a look. I was on a voucher meet and lease, and landlords were asked by the moderator, is your rent reasonable to the area? I thought the rent amount was set by DCHA, not the landlord for Section 8 tenants. Okay, so this is a question more specific to Washington, D.C. They have what we call meet and lease. These are events, usually 2 or 3 times a month, where landlords, can share what their units are available, and tenants who are looking can also hear from landlords. So that's what we call by meet and lease for those people outside. And the question here is, they ask, is your rent reasonable? So now they've changed the rules around since July of last year, where your rent that you're asking for has to be within a certain, range. Otherwise, it's not considered quote unquote reasonable. So they want to know, is your rent reasonable? Is it, how do you determine that? There's a website that you can go to, plug in the address, number of bedrooms. It'll give you an idea of what they're likely to pay. And so if you're looking to rent to a voucher holder, then your rent should be, close to what the website says. And if it's way out, then, if the website says, let's say $2,000 and you're asking $3,000, it may not be considered reasonable. And therefore, if it's not reasonable, then the housing authority is going to ask you, hey, do you want to charge a reasonable rent, or what do you want to do? Because they can only pay so much. And it's almost like if you don't want to come down to what they suggest, then they will not process the application any further. So it's always important to to understand if your property is within those guidelines set forth by the the housing authority in determining whether your price for your rental is reasonable. So typically what will happen is that if it's not, then they'll counter whatever you're asking. So if you're asking for $2,000 and they say, well, houses around here are going, or apartments around here are going for $1,500, they may come back and say, well, we can pay you $1,550. And, if you're okay with that, we're good to go. If you're not okay with it, you can deny it, or you can, provide some comparables to hopefully, support your case for a higher rent. Okay, let's have a look. That's some good questions today. Antonio Brown. Hi, Antonio. Can you describe how to check for evictions or failure to pay rent with Baltimore prospective tenants? Thanks. I don't do anything in Baltimore, so I'll just keep it generic, and hopefully it can cover Baltimore. So eviction checks, as part of the screening process, you should check the public records and do a background search on your prospective tenants. People lie. And, in fact, last week, one of my properties, which is available, somebody came in and filled an application, and a lot of the information on the application was bogus, was not true. The current landlord, previous landlords, it was just false information. I was able to catch it and caught them lying. And, that's a whole nother discussion. But people lie, and so therefore it's really important to know who you're dealing with, and to check people out in terms of their rental history, in terms of their credit history, in terms of their eviction history, and so on. So I know now, some jurisdictions are cutting back or trying to, limit your ability to check into people's background, especially eviction courts. I know in Washington D.C. they've sealed a lot of that stuff up, so you may not know. And so you want to contact your current landlord, previous landlords. That's usually helpful. You want to do a background search. There's still websites and tools that you can go to. I always like to do a home visit. You can do a social media checks. I mean, there's lots of things you can do, as part of the process in screening your tenants. Because if you just get the wrong person in your house, you are setting yourself up for a disaster. You're setting yourself up for failure. And it's really important to know who you're dealing with, and that the person that they say they are is in fact who they are. As I said before, last week, someone just lied. They said their landlord was A, when in fact it was B. And some landlords will go along with the program just to get this person out of the house. So you got to be careful. It could be done, but please, be cautious. Get Lobster, thank you so much. Good to know home warranty companies have worked for you. Some I have asked about it said they had horrible experiences with warranty companies. Yeah, I mean, I've had mixed feelings with warranty companies. Some of my earlier experiences were terrible, but I kind of figured out how those guys operate now, and so I kind of use it to my benefit. But I use it because sometimes I just don't have time to find people when there's an emergency situation, or whether there's a repair or maintenance issue. So I just like to be able to call the home warranty company, and they can assign it to a licensed, bonded, insured company, and they are then going to take care of it. The tenants know I'm trying to get the matter resolved, and we get a licensed, bonded, insured company to go out there. So I like it. It's not cheap, but it's just the cost to do business as far as I'm concerned. It saves me time, and it allows me to outsource and not get too bogged down with day-to-day operations of some of these tenant properties. Background, this is Antonio. So 7:45. Antonio, background. Again, if you got some questions, please put them in the chat box. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I've got a few more minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up today. Antonio, background checks are important. I found out a prospective tenant had an open warrant. Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's so much you can find. I mean, your job, you don't know who this person is. And they could be the greatest person in the world, or they could be your worst nightmare. They could be a wolf in sheep's clothing. You just don't know. And it's your responsibility to find out who you're dealing with. Is this person who they say they are? I said before, I've had people lie about who they are. I've had people lie about where they worked. I've had people lie about their landlords. I've had people lie about, if they've been evicted. I've had people lie right in my face. And, and it's easy to get someone in your house, but it's a lot more difficult to get them out once they're in. So your job is to make sure that you understand who you're dealing with, and the background of this person. And then you can make informed decision as to whether to let them rent your place or not, give them the keys, because once they have the keys and they have a lease in their hand, then the dynamics can change, and they do change, especially if you're in a jurisdiction which is very tenant friendly. Okay, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up unless you got a couple more questions. Again, if you have any one-on-one, if you want to go and spend more time with me one-on-one to answer any specific question, your situation, any problems and challenges that you're experiencing, you can always reach out to me to book a one-on-one Zoom session with me. You can go to my website, joeasamoah.com, www.joeasamoah.com, and you can schedule a one-on-one with me, and I'll be more than happy to try to help you navigate this difficult terrain that we're in. It's not easy being a landlord, but it's great to own assets, and especially appreciating assets, and you have great tenants. Great tenants are a blessing. Bad tenants are not. So my goal is to help you get good tenants. Okay, so I think I'm going to call it quits for tonight. So it's now 7:45. So again, hopefully you had a good time. And I look forward to seeing you at the next event. Well, I'll be here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Let's have a look. Got another question here. Do you require pet deposit? Should this be held along with deposits or in a separate account? Yeah, if you accept pets, then I would suggest that you do accept a pet deposit. There are limits, especially if it's service animals. So you have to check the local regulations. In some jurisdictions, they limit how much the deposit can be. So typically, I think my understanding is that pet deposits go for anywhere from like $250 to $500. You want to have an agreement with the tenant regarding the pet, and take photographs of the pet, get an idea of their breed, their weight, and so on. So you don't want a situation whereby you allow one pet and next thing you know, you got 2, 3, 4, 5 pets in the house. So you want to have a pet agreement and collect a deposit. I would suggest that you keep the pet deposit in a separate account rather than your operations account. So that way, if you need to return it, you can, without it being sort of being spent. So, my friends, I think I will call it a day for today. And I will see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Take care, guys.